holder.
Yeah, well, look, if you
Just
look
like
at
some old asshole that just happens to be your dad, but doesn't know fucking jack shit about the way the world runs, and he's telling you how to live your life. Meanwhile, he's a fucking mess. Maybe Bitcoin's going to grow up. Maybe Bitcoin's a little baby that doesn't know shit now, but one day Bitcoin's going to grow up and realize, you know what? There's a better way.
Well, I think that, yeah.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. I hope you're all having an excellent day. In tonight's analysis, we're going to be getting into the Bitcoin charts. As usual, also taking a look at Chainlink and Ethereum. I want to share with you my thoughts on the lower time frames, the high time frames, go through our momentum oscillators as they did give us some very nice reads overnight. We're also going to be taking a look at how they're looking right now for the current price action. We're going to be going through some of the CME chart as well, as I believe that is very important for price action at the moment. So I hope that you enjoy today's video. As you guys know, I respect your time and also mine, so I don't like to keep you guys waiting around. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Now we're going to start off here on the 15-minute time frame because we did get very close to the region that we spoke about in yesterday's video. We welcomed a pullback to the bearish order block here that we had been getting rejected from since the 21st of June. Now, if I go ahead and reset this chart and hopefully we can get it to load up here, we can see that this was a critical resistance that we did end up rejecting from multiple times here, once again from the 21st of June. Now, the price action did end up reclaiming this region, and that ultimately was the region that we saw the big sell orders come in, and that resulted in a further move to the upside from about 35,739 is around the EQ off this order block, and we did make that move very close to this region. Now, of course, it has not been tested just yet, but taking a look at the 15-minute and yesterday's price action, we did have a nice move to these highs. So we set in these highs, we spoke about the major resistance points that were on the chart. We'll quickly go through them again as well, but this offered up some very nice trading opportunities. Now, of course, we did have another move to those highs and a closure back below. That gives us a confirmed failure swing pattern off the highs, and therefore we did have from that region, of course, that is a bearish setup, and that did give us a move down of about 8.8%. So what the bulls will need to do right now is find acceptance above the daily pivot. That is around $37,675, and getting acceptance back above there would mean that we, of course, have acceptance back into this mini range that we had before the move to the downside. So that's what I would be looking at for the bulls right now, and that is a very important factor that needs to happen. You can see that even upon breaking this region, we did see a retest of that region. So that means we had support here, and that support did end up breaking. So we can look at this as a SR flip, a support resistance flip, and go for that very simple trade. Now, this morning, we have not really had much movement since I woke up. So, of course, we will get more volume coming in here on the New York Stock Exchange session. We did have a very nice move here near the daily pivot, which is resistance, down for about 3%. But ultimately, the quality of trades have not been here today. So, getting back above the daily pivot, that would start to look much more interesting. But what we need to focus on here is, let's go on to the 4-hour and actually take a look at this. So, the 4-hour did actually come down to the 377 exponential moving average, and it got very close to that. That is, of course, support right now, and of course our bearish order block, the EQ lines up with the weekly R1, making it a very important region at around 35,719. On the oscillators here, if we take a look at our market mastery divergence, we can see two pivots hit on the highs, on both the highs yesterday. That is showing us that at least a temporary top is going to be coming into the market. Same thing with our MOM indicator here. And of course, the stochastic really did need a reset, as we discussed yesterday. So we're getting that retest now, or the reset now, but it is important for the bulls to be able to reclaim the region that we just spoke about on the lower time frames, as that would mean that we could confirm and continue this bullish pattern that we have here, which is going to be the higher highs and higher lows on the chart. So high highs and high lows, of course, mean a bullish market structure. Breaking the R1 here would not really be the best sign. So I would be looking at the R1 as a very critical support region, as I already discussed in yesterday's video. So that would be the region to definitely be watching. Moving up to some of our high time frames, such as a 12-hour, we can see that the stochastic not looking very hot here. It did actually reject also as well, which of course we do expect this when we do get so high up here, and that is ultimately in the process of resetting right now. It's going to take longer because of course it is a 12-hour, it is a medium time frame. We hit 2 pivots on our indicators here as well, which does show us that a temporary top is in place at the very least. So on a lower time frame reclaim of those regions, that could be perceived as good for the bulls, but as we already discussed, overall still ranging price action on the charts, so there is no reason to get, be going long at the top of the range. As we had our weekly R3, we know that's typically not going to break on the first go, especially with the structure that we had on our momentum oscillators. So ultimately really following through with those thoughts on the lower time frames and going on to the 1 day as well. We are coming up to some major resistance, but this is where it's going to get interesting because we do actually see a little bit of a difference between the spot price action. So if we look at this resistance right here, we have a resistance from the 20th of February. So if we look at that, that is actually these highs right here, which took us from $58,000 all the way down to about 26% down here to $43,000. So quite a big move. And then the second hit was of course on this next major high in the market, which was $62,000, down about 20%, almost 20%, down to $50,000. And then we are seeing a test of that once again. So you can actually be looking at this high as another region that we actually rejected this right here. So as you can see very clearly, that we had that rejection here on the 17th of June. That was near the highs of the range, $41,000 coming down to $29,000. So it is very important for the bulls to actually get going right now because as you can see, we've come back to some resistance that we've been seeing since February 2021. Therefore, it would make it a very important time for the bulls to be able to get continuation. I'd say that overall, this has already played out. We spoke about our bullish divergences at these lows here, on the 19th of July, before we had actually made the next move down. We saw those bullish divergences on our RSI, on our MOM indicator, and also on some stochastic on the lower time frames. So that was a nice move. I mean, we've already had quite a large move back to the highs of the range. So now we need to wait to see with confirmations such as volume and the regions that we spoke about to take those trading opportunities. Because right now, if you did miss the shorts yesterday, this is not really a place to be taking trades without any confirmation. So going on to the CME chart, this is why I said it will get interesting here because of course we do have a CME gap below us and a CME gap above us. But what is interesting here is if you look at the spot price action, the daily closure was not exactly the strongest because we had a very big wick to the downside and a rejection. But the CME chart actually has around or did have this morning a little bit of a premium on the price action. So that's overall good, means there is buyers in the market. But we also have a nice bullish candle closure on the 1 day. We close above the 55 EMA, but right now we're sitting kind of in the middle. So this is why I'm saying without confirmations and without critical regions that you're looking at, this is not going to be the exact best place to be taking a trade unless you are managing a risk and unless it is a lower time frame trade. Of course, on the lower time frames, there is many great trades to be had, but on the high time frames, this is the trade to be had. Down here, we've already moved up 40%, and that was the range lows that we have within this range that we've been in over 60 days. So don't want anyone to be getting wrecked just out of nowhere here. Of course, not financial advice, but we have been in this range for 69 days, and therefore a closure on the next daily above the 55 EMA at the very least would be good. But the R1 here would be the next region to really be watching for that next continuation move up to the R2, which is going to be at 42,700, and that is the critical region that we spoke about for the high time frames, as that is the highs of the range since the 20th of May. That is also in confluence with the January highs as well. So they're really my thoughts still on the high time frames. Nothing much has changed. And if we look at the 1 day CMEs, it looks different on the stochastic as well. So we are coming up to that critical resistance, but CMEs would have some room to go here. I mean, we've just found acceptance back into the neutral zone. So looking very different here and giving us different reads definitely on the CMEs. Of course, CMEs is very important. That is why we like to track it as well. But it is going to be important that we can get above this neutral zone. And so the next daily closure in 12 hours and 52 minutes is going to be extremely important to watch. Going on to the Bitcoin dominance very quickly, as we haven't looked at this one, in a while. But what we spoke about, this is already on our charts since the last analysis. Of course, we had some higher lows being set in, and it's really following through with our analysis still. So higher lows and higher highs, that's going to give us a bullish structure, and overall, this is still looking powerful. Even though, we did see, I haven't really looked at the Bitcoin pairings, but ultimately, if this is going up, then of course Bitcoin pairings will be taking a little bit of a hit. But with our USD pairings, of course they went up a little bit, because as Bitcoin goes up, the USD pairings will follow Bitcoin. But at the moment, we are seeing an increase in this Bitcoin dominance. We have come back to the critical resistance once again, which is these highs from the 23rd of June, and we have actually temporarily stopped here. But this, breaking and holding above the R1, which currently is, getting another closure above here, and especially with these highs, then I'd be looking to move up to the 44% region, which will be very interesting to see. I mean, this has been in a massive downtrend for a while, guys. So when we do see some high lows being set in, that is when we want to be very careful trading the Bitcoin pairings. And so that's very important to take, to keep in mind. Of course, there's going to be trades to be had on them, but you really want to be keeping track of the Bitcoin dominance if you are trading the Bitcoin pairings as well. So now let's move on to the Link USD charts. I want to take a look at some of the our Binance chart here. And we're going to be taking a look at this. So I want to get rid of everything on the chart, as of course this is very messy on our Link chart. I just wanted to get rid of, we'll leave the pivots on here. We'll leave this very critical resistance here as well. But we want to take a look at, or get rid of some of our lower time frame levels. And as we can see right here, this is our bullish order block back from the 13th of January, and is a high time frame bullish order block. Therefore, it's a critical support. Now, price action has actually come down here once. It came down to the EQ off the bearish bullish order block, and bounced up 140%. The second time, we actually got a perfect retest off the EQ, giving us a bounce inside of the range, up 48%. And we have gotten another test off the exact bottom of the bullish order block, giving us a 55% move. But what we can see here is a nice, falling channel that was being respected. And I do like this very much. And, overall, this is a nice range to be trading, as even when we broke out of this region, we actually did see a retest. So what happens to broken resistance? It often becomes support. And even if you miss the bullish order block down here, that's a 30% rise. And so what would need to happen now is at least a regain of the monthly pivot at 22.29. And if we look at this as a similar range to Bitcoin, we could definitely see that, ultimately this is still not, a reversal on the charts, because I see a lot of people, especially on Twitter, every time, I used to follow a lot of people that, supported Link as well. And I absolutely love Link myself as well. But sometimes it's a little bit of speaking about emotions rather than actually charts. So I like to stay away from everything on Twitter, not just, Chainlink like that, but in general, we like to, trade the charts here. So there's been some nice trades on the charts, but since we came up to this, red horizontal that we have now on our charts that we have had, over the multiple videos that we've made here, because these were our highs, that's when we like to take profits, guys. So if you were in longs here, that's generally where you want to look to take profits. You always want to front run the monthly pivot. But if we can get above the monthly pivot here, then I'd be looking at, so let's say we get an open and a closure on a 1 day time frame and a retest off the monthly pivot. And even a wick down here would not really matter, because Chainlink does like to wick around a lot. So that's why I don't use high leverage and give your stop losses some more room. I would be targeting the next region here, up 18%, and potentially even looking for a little bit of a short position, as this is the anchored VWAP from the highs. This is why we have this on the chart, because that's going to show us that really the reversal may be in play once we can get above the anchored VWAP at 26.53, because that is where the institutions are looking to sell. They're not looking to sell down here at the lows. They're generally looking to sell at the average price, which is the volume weighted average price, the VWAP here, and we are anchoring it so we can see exactly where we are, from the highs. So I've already discussed this here, but that's still the key resistance for me, and definitely the region that I'll be watching. And of course, if you wanted to be very, very safe with it, moves back above the 33.51 region here, which was at 20th of May highs, then that would be looking good, which would be above the monthly R2 as well. Now, of course, the month is almost over. So once the month is over, we will go ahead and take a look at some of these new monthly pivots. They'll give us some more trading opportunities. We've spoken about a lot of them inside of that falling channel range that we had. But I just don't want you guys to be trading with, emotions. Just stick to the charts right now. And what the charts are telling us is overall ranging price action. So you can be taking shorts, you can be taking longs, and overall they are low risk trades, because if we look at the volume, guys, we have not seen much volume come into the charts still. We are seeing decreasing volume still overall since our dip to the downside. So moves to the upside, we want to see increase in volume. I mean, we've got this on our charts for a while now, but let's clean this up a little bit, because it really does give me a headache every single day. So yeah, just these are the important regions that we want to be watching. We might even get rid of these as well. But overall, this is what to watch here for Chainlink. Coming back to that resistance from the 29th of June, need to get above that in the monthly pivot. If not, then the bullish order block is still a high time frame support region, but it's definitely going to need to be held. And it's really up to Bitcoin here. So remember what we just spoke about for Bitcoin. As long as Bitcoin can reclaim and continue its uptrend, at least this temporary uptrend that we have right now on the lower time frames, then Chainlink will gain some strength as well. So now let's move on to Ethereum USD and start to wrap this up. We're going to go on to our Bitstamp chart. We haven't been on this in a while. So Ethereum USD, we're going to be getting rid of everything here. Now, Ethereum USD has come back up to the monthly pivot, and this was a fantastic trading opportunity. When you are trading, any asset, you want to be, of course, taking a look at the high time frames as well. So we looked at mainly the lower time frames here yesterday, but of course, we know that that Ethereum on the 26th of June had a nice move to the upside. So we look at and we look for a critical resistance or a critical swing high in the market as we are in an uptrend here. So the first critical swing high was right above our monthly pivot. And so when we see this, swing high from the 4th of July and also the 7th of July, we are looking at a potential failure swing pattern here. And that would mean that taking out the highs and closing back below would give you a bearish setup. So now let's take this on the lower time frames. So we know that the monthly pivot is resistance, and we also know that this region is resistance. So on the lower time frames, you can see how perfectly we respected price action, and we respected that resistance on the first move to the upside. We ended up rejecting about 3.89%, making that next move up exactly like Bitcoin. But once we take out those highs and we close back below, remember this green horizontal, that is your failure swing pattern confirmed, and that is going to be your short positions initiated on the charts, which continued down about 10%. Now, I'd be looking at the same region a little bit above actually for Ethereum on the lower time frames. I want to see at least, at the very least, a reclaim of the daily pivot and also the $2,300 region flat, because that would be acceptance back into this region, and then I would look for, another swing back up to the highs of the range. So that is ultimately the confirmations that I would be looking for the Ethereum charts. We are looking like a little bit of an accumulation potentially here, but if you want it to be safer, and since this is YouTube, I want to be talking about the safest of safe areas on the charts and just the regions that I'd be watching for further continuation, then yes, looking at this $2,300 region, it'd be a nice area to at least look for an oscillation of the range. And I mean, an oscillation of this previous range, that would be already a 4% move. So you can be looking for positions down here, but that is ultimately up to you. So right now, the key resistance is going to be here. And of course, the key support region, we can actually look at a little bit of a diagonal. And usually I don't like diagonals, but this is where we have found support since the 22nd of July. And I like how it lines up with the S2 and also these swing lows from the 26th of July. So we don't want to be seeing any moves back below there, because if we do look at the 4-hour here, we actually do have a very nice structure going on. And if Ethereum is to stop here, that is going to be consecutive higher lows and higher highs inside of the range, meaning we have a bullish structure on the charts. And so therefore, taking a look at higher highs and higher lows, that is ultimately good. But it's very important that Ethereum does hold here and does reclaim some of those resistances. If you want to be looking at, some of the 4-hour closures back above the $2,221 level, which is the weekly R1, is going to be that first good sign coming into the charts. But really, Ethereum right now, I would assume, I have not looked at the momentum oscillators, but I would assume that we actually do have, very similar read on the 4-hour, on the 1-day. Very similar read. We're coming back up to this resistance. What is this resistance at? We can see that really stopped our highs here at 3,400, bringing us down to 3,100. It may not look like much, but that's an 8% move. That's when the trend line formed. And then we, of course, did test this almost right here, which was the absolute highs in the market, bringing us down about 60%. And then once again, we saw the same thing on this dip. We saw the daily stochastic start to turn, and that was a 28% dip. And now we are back at that resistance and the critical zone on the stochastic on the 1-day time frame. So personally, if I was short it from up here and I did pick up that swing failure pattern, I'd be taking some profits, of course, on the dip, as we saw a nice dip. But then I would definitely be potentially waiting out, seeing if we can reclaim the lower time frame region we spoke about before closing that short. Because right now we are potentially looking at that as being a swing position. Now, people aren't going to like me saying this stuff, but I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, whether they're going to be, what you like or not like, because we're looking at the charts here. So reclaims off these highs would be good. The daily stochastic would surpass resistance. But since it is a historical level that we're looking at, we stopped price action. This is the all-time highs. We had a massive dip from here. We've had massive dips from these regions. So we need to reclaim this and reclaim resistance to really stop those bears from coming in here. And from both sides, we have not seen any volume. So for Ethereum, the same kind of thing here overall inside of the range. So we can look for these, look for these highs, look for these shorts, and look for these longs as well. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that you got something out of it. If you want to join the private technical analysis group, go ahead and send me a message on Discord. My username is down below in the description, and I would appreciate it if you have not already to go ahead and leave a like on the video to help the videos get out there. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you in tomorrow's one.